Hey guys, it is Rachel from Everybody Has Stuff. Tonight I'm gonna kind of just wing it. I'm not gonna do an intro with my music or anything like that or any of the graphics. So I'm just gonna go on a whim here because I got out of class early, and then for some reason I had this urge to do this podcast. Because I haven't done one in quite some time. So I have never gone live before. This is my first live. I have no idea. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I don't know what the volume sitch is like, but please let me know if for some reason you're not able to hear me. Basically what I wanted to talk to you guys about is the stigma of addiction, and I'm going to try not to get emotional when I'm talking about this, but a couple weeks ago, on the 18th, we lost my wife's cousin, and it's been a struggle. She's basically like my cousin as well. If you guys have listened to my podcast, you're aware that I have minimal relationships with my family, especially my extended family on either side. So my wife's family from day one has kind of always been a second family to me, and have taken me in and taken me in as one of their own, made me feel cared about and loved and special. And I mean, are they perfect? No, but what family is, right? So I'm very grateful for that. And my wife's cousin is one of those people who, from day one, was calling me her cousin, making me feel part of the family, never made me feel judged through my own struggles. And obviously, through my active addiction, I put my wife through a lot of things when I had relapsed a couple times, that obviously her family was not a fan of me for a while, and rightfully so. But her cousin Car was never like Carly. Just had a heart of gold and amazing soul, and it's just so shitty when we have to lose people to this disease, but it's even shittier when it hits home, when it's very close to us, and when it's, you know, regarding someone that we held with high regard, and we know was just an amazing person inside and out, just a beautiful, beautiful person. Again, heart of gold, wonderful soul. She's just, angel on earth, and selfless and caring. And she was a nurse, so that says it all too, right there. Just always worried about everybody else, no matter what was going on in her life. And she did have a lot of her own struggles, clearly. I don't want to spend the whole time of this talking about Carly, even though I could spend a whole episode talking about her because of just how awesome she was and what an impact she made on my life, on my wife's life, on pretty much anyone who she came in contact with. But what I really wanted to go into is just how the stigma of addiction truly does get in the way of us feeling like we can ask for help. Now, people might have this argument, okay, well, you're choosing that. You're choosing to do this. And I talk about this all the time in other episodes as well. Like you're choosing to kind of put those drugs into your body. Okay, in the beginning, when we're using them as a coping skill to numb out, like for the very first like few times, or we're experimenting, yeah, we're choosing that because there are people who don't choose to do that or engage in those behaviors to numb out or like deal with life, right? But when you have either the predisposition, or you just have this addictive personality or certain brain structure or lack certain chemicals, whatever it is, there's so many factors that go into someone developing addiction. Whatever the reason is, like, once the addiction wheels start going in the brain, our brain is hijacked. We are not choosing this. I don't know how many times I have to say this, but no one chooses to wake up every day in withdrawals, miserable, stealing, lying, cheating, um, killing, whatever, to get their substance of choice, to feel relief for maybe 10 minutes, if that, and then to still feel like shit. Um, and having it progress to the point of homelessness or jail or death. No one chooses that. Um, you can tell yourself whatever you need to tell yourself so that you don't have to acknowledge the reality of addiction. Um, and especially now, unfortunately, addiction is so prevalent. I don't care what you say, at some point in your life, you either will be the addict, you'll know someone who's the addict, or you'll know someone who knows someone who's an addict. Um, whether it's family, coworker, friend, I don't know, whatever. We are all touched by addiction in some way, shape, or form. We just don't ever want to admit it, especially because we have these addictions to the legal substances, like nicotine and caffeine and sugar. Because guess what? Those are drugs too. We don't like to admit that. We don't like to go into that because they're legal, so it's okay. Or even drinking, even drinking. Um, we justify that so often. And if you were to look at many people's lives, they might go to work, they might function, right? They might pay their bills to the best of their ability and on the outside look great, but really if you're going home and you're drinking every night, because you don't wanna deal with your life or to numb yourself, it's the intention behind it. I don't care that you get up and go to work the next day. I don't care that you're still bringing in money and paying the bills because guess what? You're emotionally inept. You're emotionally suffering. So, you're not functioning. You're a shell, and your brain is on autopilot and barely functioning. Um, that's not a way to live. So, to me, it's just I don't know, we live, a lot of us, in this delusion and denial because God forbid we take a look at ourselves and admit where we stand. Um, I know plenty of people who might not be addicted to drugs, but they're addicted to shopping, they're addicted to sex, they're addicted to relationships that need to to be wanted, that feeling of passion in a relationship, that high people get in the beginning of relationships, that's an addiction. Gambling, food, I don't know, there's so many things, soda, cigarettes, there's everyone is addicted to something. So for people to sit in their tower pointing and blaming and shaming and guilting people into feeling like shit about themselves for having a drug addiction or being an alcoholic, um, to me is just stupid and plain ignorant and delusional. Because if you were to take a look at your life, I guarantee you there's something in your life that you're addicted to. It might not bring you to the point of homelessness. It might not bring you to the point of stealing or cheating or lying, or you might still be able to function and go to work and pay bills. But when it comes down to it, it doesn't matter. You are still addicted. You can sugarcoat it all you want to yourself and feed your false sense of reality, so that you don't have to feel bad about yourself or have to look at the suffering in the world of those who do struggle with addictions that are more, um, I guess, interfering with their ability to function on the day to day stuff. But this stigma and this way of thinking just makes the problem worse. I don't understand how people can sit in this denial and try to tell themselves um, well, they're choosing this. Deep down, I know in your heart, you know that that is not true. So, my question would be, what purpose does it serve you to believing that it's a choice? Because if there's just no way in my mind that you can truly, honestly, you're not being completely honest with yourself if you believe that addiction is a choice. It's no more a choice um, than your sex that you're born with, right? If your sex that you're born with, you know, is female or male, you can't control that. Um, you can't control if you get cancer. Sometimes people are just they get it. Um, and I'm not comparing addiction to cancer in the way that you might think. I'm trying to make a point that no one chooses to suffer. Like, no one in life would purposely continue to choose to suffer. Um, because let me tell you from experience, addiction sucks. You feel like shit every day, and it's, like, beyond heartbreaking. It nothing I say, no words could even explain to you the pain, that we feel in addiction, and having someone constantly guilting and shaming us or throwing us into a stereotype or shoving the stigma onto us, especially when you haven't even educated yourself on what addiction really is. You come up with these preconceived notions, whether it was because that's what you heard growing up, or whatever, the media, politics, government, I don't know, wherever you heard it, um, wipe it clean and start fresh and do some research. And I don't mean going to like such and such.com. No dot coms. Check out the eat.edus. Check out, you can literally go onto Google. It's like Google Scholar. You can look up scholarly articles, peer-reviewed journals, do some real research on addiction and how it impacts the brain and how the brain is involved and how this is not a choice. When we hold people to a stigma that's not real, that's not true, that's part of a delusion to make ourselves feel better about ourselves, um, we are doing a disservice to our communities, to our loved ones, to our world, to our planet. Addiction's not going anywhere. It's just getting worse. And with all the technologies that are coming out, there's more and more things to be addicted to. Um, yeah, I'm sure parents can see these addictions starting with technology with their kids. It's been like that since computers even started and way back to like original Nintendo and stuff like, but even more so now because parents rely on these technological advances to help raise their kids. And I'm not judging. I'm just saying it is a fact. That's just where it's led us. Um, so the other point, speaking of kids, that I wanted to bring up since it just popped into my head, I kind of have to say things as they come up or else I'll forget. But how about instead of judging someone for their addiction, you just literally think about what if this was my child? What if this was my parent? What if this was me? How would I want someone to respond to me and my struggles? What is the purpose of me? What is my intention here in shaming this person and holding this stigma? What does that do for me? It feeds some bullshit narrative, that's what it does, to make you not have to face reality and that this world is shitty and that there's people suffering out there while you're sitting on your couch eating bonbons in your mansion or whatever. I mean, that's another stereotype, but it's facts. There's people who have it better and people who have it worse. And those who aren't in the struggle have a difficult time seeing or understanding those who are struggling. And that's the other piece, is that our society is very, very individualistic. I say it all the time. We don't care about each other. It's every man for himself. What do I have to do? Whose body do I have to step over to get ahead and to get to where I want to be in life? I just don't. This this empath, me being an empath, I don't understand that way of thinking, because am I selfless all the time? Am I selfish with a lot of things? Am I narcissistic in certain ways? I think we all are. Of course, I'm not perfect by any means, but me being an empath, it I feel so deeply for everything and everybody, and it's a blessing and a curse, because it's hard to live in a world full of hate and judgment and shame and stigma when you're one of the people who's an empath. I think a lot of us who struggle are empaths. And two, you know, we feel stronger, we feel more deeply, I think, because of our trauma, but also just in our addictions. Someone struggling with addiction, it's just so, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. I totally, mine went to the left. My ADHD, I like heard the motorcycle and got sidetracked. But I, what I'm trying to say is that let's just have some compassion, man. It's hard to be the person struggling and being an empath and feeling things deeper on a deeper level than most people do. Um, if we had the ability to suck it up and just go on with our lives like other people have, we would. Don't you think that we would? I just, it's the people who run their mouths and hold people to this stigma that when their child or their loved one starts to become the person with the addiction, they're either going to do one of two things. They're either going to shame them, guilt them, and hold them to the stigma and try to hide the addiction or the suffering because they don't want to be judged. Or two, they're going to just be like in shock. Oh, no. Like, you know what I mean? And it's going to make them change their way of thinking, which is how it should be. It shouldn't take someone to have a loved one go through it to change their way of thinking and their opinion of addiction. But sometimes that is what it takes, unfortunately. But then there's people who go the opposite way and are so worried of what everyone else thinks of them that they're willing to put their child or loved one, family member, whoever it is, like, keep them in this little, like, secret room, like, it doesn't exist, the addiction, like, they're not, they're fine, they're great, everything's great here, um, on the outside, and, behind scenes, their kids shooting dope. It's like, um and living miserably, and that's the kind of shit that prevents us from getting the help that we need. If we're growing up in an environment where we're being taught, "You don't ask for help. If you have a fucking problem, like, just deal with it," or if you have a problem, I don't wanna hear about it, um, or if you have a problem, don't talk about it to anybody else because we're gonna get judged as a family, then it's gonna be even more difficult for you to ask for help, most likely. Maybe not for all, but for a lot of people, because those unspoken rules, or maybe sometimes even spoken, are so ingrained that we learn that it's not okay to feel how we feel and to ask for help when we're struggling, because we should be stronger than that and rise above it. When the people who are telling you these things aren't rising above anything. They haven't risen above anything. They're not strong and resilient because they shove their shit down and suppress it. That's literally all they've done. That's the only reason why they've been able to continue functioning. Uh, Basically, and function, I mean like going to work, holding a job, going to school, making money, to me is not functioning. To me, functioning is like emotional intelligence and what type of relationships you have in your life. Are they healthy? What type of relationship you have with yourself, emotionally, physically, self care. To me, that is functioning. We're not put on this earth to just go to work, go to school, go to sleep, and do it all over again. Like, I just can't buy into that. I just don't. Um, so those people who are trying to hide their loved one or hide their own addiction for that matter, it comes from somewhere. And again, it's like that transgenerational type of thinking passed down, and it gets in the way of people getting help. You don't realize, like, we are all impacting each other. We like to believe that we're all individuals and you make your choice and that's your fucking problem, whatever choice it is, if it brings you problems or struggles. Like, no, no, we all have a part. We are all interconnected. We are connecting. There's connection between us as human beings, whether we want to admit that or not, or whether we want that or not. We all have a connection to people. And even though what you say or do can't force me to act in a certain way or to respond in a certain way or to have a certain behavior, no, you're not putting a gun to my head and saying, hey, um, go shoot this dope. And if you don't, I'm going to shoot you in the head. That's not what I mean. But what I mean is your words and your shame and your guilt and the stigma and teaching people that it's not okay to feel feelings and it's not okay to ask for help, it does create this narrative. It plays a role in the person creating a narrative that, like, they're not worthy of asking for help, that they're weak if they ask for help. Now, developing can't talk. Developing that narrative prevents people from going to treatment, from telling someone, "Look, I'm really struggling right now. I need to go to, like, get on some medication. I need therapy." It prevents people from living longer. Maybe someone's fate is to die young. Maybe someone's fate is to die from the disease of addiction. I don't know. I'm not God. I don't try to pretend to be. I don't know when someone's time is up, if it's already planned out, if there's like some fate thing going on. I don't know. But at least if the person had gone to get help, it could have been prevented possibly. We don't know for sure, but it's possible. And or they could have lived longer. So it's frustrating as someone who has never really had, well, I can't say I never have because I did at some points. I think when I was younger, had problems asking for help, but I was able to, for whatever reason, come out of that and begin to ask for help and not feel shame in my struggle. And I'm forever grateful for that because if not, who knows where I would be right now? I could be the one 6 feet under. I still could be at any moment. I say it all the time. Like, if I'm not, you know, really on top of things, I could go out tonight and that be it. But feeling like you have unconditional love and support and feeling safe enough to be able to tell someone, your loved ones, that you're struggling and that you need help makes all the difference in whether or not someone can recover. We're all impacting each other. So if someone is feeling judged, we already judge ourselves enough. We already feel shame enough. We already feel guilt enough without you telling us what a piece of shit we are, and that we're junky and that we're never gonna amount to anything, and that you're never gonna get clean and sober and you're gonna die a junkie, and or don't say anything. I don't want my work to know that my kid's an addict. Don't say anything because I don't want the rest of the family to know that my kid's an addict. Don't say anything because I don't want the world to think that I'm not perfect. How selfish is that shit? And I've seen it with clients that I've had. I've seen it in my own family. Um, and it really boils down to that they have guilt and shame. It's all their own shit. And it's unfortunate that someone's own shitty self-esteem and self-worth is taken out on somebody else, and it prevents people from feeling safe to ask for help and getting the help they need and deserve, and possibly, overcoming or finding recovery. And people don't have to die from this disease, they just don't. Again, I don't know, I can't sit here and say that there's such thing as fate. I don't know. Maybe certain people are just meant to be on this earth for so long, and the disease is the way that they go out, I don't know. But it's better to at least help them and to get them to try to recover than having a loved one pass and having all of those what ifs, because that feels like shit, and I don't wish that on anybody. Um, it's a really crappy feeling to wonder, could I have said more? Could I have done more? Maybe if I just picked up my phone, maybe if I called more, maybe if I pushed them harder or confronted them more, and didn't give up. That is not a fun feeling. I would rather, and I tell my wife this all the time, I would much rather, like, if for something, God forbid, happened where she relapsed or I relapsed, I would much rather you be pissed off at me, your family hate me, whoever hate me, and you be alive than have to bury you. If it could have been prevented, I don't care what anyone thinks of me, what you think of me. If I can save your life, I'm going to. And that's how we need to be approaching addiction, and putting aside our own guilt and shame and bullshit narrative that was created for us, because that those thoughts come from somewhere. We don't come into this world with judgment for anyone. It comes from our parents. It comes from their parents. It comes from the media and your community and the people you surround yourself with, and your own beliefs that you've developed about yourself. Let's stop taking our own shit out on other people and start helping people, helping each other, having compassion for ourselves and for other people. No one chooses this. No one would choose to live so miserably and to lose their loved ones, uh, and to do things that they thought they would never do in their lifetime that make their shame even worse and self-esteem even worse. No one would choose to put poison into their body if they didn't have to. Again, I don't know what exactly. No one really knows technically, even all the research, like, there is a lot of research on a bunch of different factors on what plays a role in people developing addiction, but no one truly knows the answer to that question. Does it really matter? It is what it is. It's here. Addiction is here. It's been around for decades and decades, and it's gonna stay around. Unfortunately, there's always gonna be something that our bodies and brains get addicted to, because addiction is merely just the disease of more. That's why addiction isn't just with substances. It can be with anything, anything. And let's start taking a look at our own lives and our own selves and why we're judging others, maybe. Again, I'm not perfect at it. Some days I'm really good at not judging people and being compassionate and empathetic. Um, and other days, if I'm off, if my game's off and my self care is really shitty and I'm feeling kind of low about myself, yeah, I might judge a little more on that day. But at least I have the awareness and insight and the desire to not want to live that way, and to try to notice it when it's happening so I can stop it. Um, because we're human and we're not perfect. So we are going to slip up. We are going to have fuck ups. We aren't going to act favorably all the time. We're not going to act kind to everybody all the time. That's just part of being a human, right? But we don't have to stay and old ways. We don't have to continue with a narrative that no longer serves any purpose to us or to our loved ones or friends or coworkers. Just think about it if it was you. How would you want someone to help you? Punishment doesn't work. Fear doesn't work. Shaming and guilting people, holding them to a stigma does not work. And who the fuck are you to judge anyways? Who the fuck am I to judge? I'm not any more special or above anyone else. So let's stop treating each other like shit and come together to help people and not give a fuck what anybody else thinks. I care more about my loved one's life being saved than what someone else might think about me, knowing someone and supporting someone that's struggling with mental health or addiction. Are they fucking you, paying your bills, feeding you? No, no, no. Then what do you care what they think? I know it's a little blunt, a little rash, a little crude, my language, I apologize, but it's the truth. We put so much attention on what everyone else thinks of us when really it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. As one of my sponsors in AA told me before, actually multiple people, but what people think of me is none of my damn business, because it's not. Because I can't control it. I can only control myself and keep my side clean and do my part and treat other people with respect and love and kindness as I would want to be treated, right? So let's stop being hypocritical. Let's say what we mean and mean what we say and show compassion, unconditional love, support, and help build each other up instead of kicking each other down. It's not worth it. And you know what? When you lose a loved one or someone you care about from this disease, it really is going to put it into perspective for you. I hope that doesn't happen to anyone watching this, but unfortunately, it's inevitable with the times that we live in. Just know that I'm here for you. I got you. Even if you are someone that is very close-minded to this topic and you don't have very nice things to say, I got you. Any questions you want to ask me, I'm an open book, as you guys have seen, you've noticed in my podcast. I'm just here to help and share my experiences and share my thoughts. One, for myself, for self-care, to vent and get shit out, but two, to help you guys and then maybe open up some eyes to like certain things that maybe you know, were closed off to before, and a new way of thinking. But thank you guys for all the love and support. I apologize. I haven't had like a legit podcast episode in a while. It's been hard with the loss of my cousin and school, work, internship starting, and it's just a lot. So I appreciate your patience and support and love. So again, Rachel, for Everybody Has Stuff, please reach out to me if you need help, if you need resources. Check out my website, www.whatsyourstuff.com. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Instagram, Facebook at Everybody Has Stuff. Check it out, please. Much love. Thank you again. Tune in for the next one.